Thank you for downloading this podcast from the British Theatre Guide. For more information about British Theatre Guide, please visit britishtheatreguide.info. Director Max Stafford-Clarke has revived for Out of Joint Andrea Dunbar's play Rita, Sue and Bob 2, the original production of which he directed while Artistic Director of the Royal Court in London in 1982, working closely with the 19-year-old playwright. The production is currently touring the UK until February 2018, but I spoke to the actors playing the three title roles a week into its initial run at the Octagon Theatre in Bolton.
I'm Taj Atwal and I play Rita.
I'm Gemma Dobson and I play Sue.
I'm James Atherton and I'm playing Bob.
And you're the three title roles in Rita, Sue and Bob 2.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Which opened last week. I saw it on the press night. It's very full-on and in your face from beginning to end.
Yeah.
What did you think when you first picked up the script? Did you know it before, or did you pick up this and realise what you had to do?
I'd seen the film before, but I'd not seen the play, and I was quite surprised to learn that it was a play before it was a film, because the film's such a cult classic.
Yes.
You know, it's sort of in the same league as like Full Monty, in my eyes anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like, so when I read the play and saw how different it was to the film, and you know, and it opened my eyes to the darkness of the story.
Yeah.
Because the play in the film, it's very comedic in the play and the film, but in the film it's very there's a lot of things that have been added, I think, and it makes it more of a light-hearted journey, whereas with this I don't think it is. I think it's quite sad.
It's funny as well, though, isn't it?
It is
funny. I think that's what people from these kind of... I mean, I grew up on similar estates on and off, and I think a lot of people kind of find the humour in the face of adversity. You just kind of, you know, that's what's so amazing about these people. They don't dwell on their situation. They carry on fighting for the better.
Yeah.
I'd read the play. I knew Andrea's work as a playwright. She was one of the only playwrights I ever come across that I felt I could relate to.
Yeah.
When I started acting, so I kind of knew the play and everything, and when this opportunity came around I was beside myself.
Yeah, similar to Taj really, kind of knew the play. I think I saw the film when I was far too young to see the film. Probably when I was like...
Probably the best time to see it.
Yeah. So I kind of had a memory of it, and so kind of knew the play. And yeah, I think that the sort of darker themes come through, but it's that dark comedy that she's just, for her to be 18 when she first wrote it, I think is quite amazing. And it's obvious it's from that first-hand experience, because the detail that is in, I think the play script actually, more than the film, I think...
Stronger.
Yeah, it is that those themes kind of come through as well.
Yeah.
I think the film kind of has a tendency to shy away or skirt over those issues, and I think even Andrea herself wasn't best pleased with some of the additional scenes, for example, where they all jump back into bed with him. I think Max was telling us that, you know, there's a famous, well, not famous, but a comment where she made, she was like, they wouldn't do that, they just won't do that, you know.
Yeah. She won't go back with someone who'd done that to her.
Yeah. So these were people, maybe not directly based on people that she knew, but these were the sorts of people that she grew up with, weren't they? So.
I think that's what's so amazing about her as a playwright, is there's a part of her in every one of those characters, and everyone she's come across there's an amalgamation of everyone that she's known in those characters.
Yeah. And Sue is based on Andrea, and Rita is based on Sue's best friend Eileen.
Yeah.
And this actually happened
Bob's a real character
in their
too.
childhood.
Yeah.
But what's fascinating is that Max was saying that this was probably the best time of their lives. This between childhood and adulthood was probably the best time of their lives, because, you know, what happened to Andrea was tragic. She died at age 29, and then we found out that Eileen was living in poverty, aged 50 odd. Yeah. You know, years later. So
it's exciting for him as well, isn't it? Yeah. At that time, you know, no matter how wrong it is, and how obviously, like today, we see it, I think, a lot worse than we probably did back then. But there's something exciting about it, and even there's kind of like Bob is 27 in the play. I'm not sure how old George was when he was cast in the film, but
significantly older, I imagine.
I think he was, but it's kind of what I think really comes through is the relationship between the girls and Bob. There's kind of that, you get this feeling that Bob has this lost youth.
Yeah.
And and this is his release.
He doesn't have all the power by any means, does he?
No, definitely not. No, you see that kind of that. There's a real power shift kind of in scene 3 where Rita kind of stands strong and sort of says, no, let's talk or whatever. And then in scene 7, the girls have him over.
He's back up against the wall.
Totally. Because it could all come out at any moment. So. Yeah.
But I don't think they do that from a point where they know they're doing that. I think that's just, they're still in this situation where it's just still exciting, and it's a bit like our co-director Kate Wasserberg said, it's like a bit of a film for them.
Yeah.
It's like, we're in this exciting world and secrets might come out, and he's imparting secrets on us and telling us to keep a secret and entrusting that on us, which I think is exciting for a 15-year-old girl.
Yeah. It's probably a more difficult subject to broach now than it was then, because, I mean, some people say people are more difficult to shock, but I don't think they are. I think people are shocked by different things in different times, aren't they? And now people will be shocked by underage girls with this married man and not seeing that they are traumatised by it. I think people would find that shocking, not showing the trauma, but they're not at all, are they? They see it. They seem to be getting as much from it as him.
But a lot of kids that get groomed aren't traumatised by it at the time. It's only years later when they relive their childhood, and they think, fucking hell, that was... Yeah. Sorry for swearing, but that was, that wasn't right.
Yeah.
Because at the time, it's like, oh, this is great, he's giving us what we want. He's
attention.
Giving us attention, he's giving us affection, he's giving us love. We're not getting that at home.
Yeah.
He's good looking, it's cool, we feel really good about it.
The grooming process is basically the same as courting in a normal relationship.
Yes.
It's kind of, and so I think people don't realise until a lot later, as Jem says, and then, some people actually block it out as well. Because I kind of did some work on it before we started the play and interviewed some people that had been through it, and it was quite shocking to hear that they can't, it takes years for them to kind of come to the realisation.
It's like processing it, isn't it?
Yeah.
You need to be a fully formed adult yourself before you can separate the situation and what you've been through. You can't really view it objectively when you're 15. And our job as actors is not to judge these characters. It's not James's character. God, I'm getting my mixed up now. It's not James's job to judge Bob.
No.
It's his job to play it for the truth of it, which he does amazingly. And I think our co-director Kate had said that from the beginning, just play it for what it is. But I
think one of the saddest things is in the play, Rita sort of kind of says, I want to go to London, I want to be a policewoman. And then she ends up stuck.
Falling in that.
Pregnant and at home.
Which I guess in 82...
And she seems to be stuck in the home as well, because we do see that a little bit later when you've not seen her for a long time. So she does seem to be stuck, but we don't really find out what happens to her, do we?
No, I mean, we'd all love to sit down with Andrea now and ask her so many questions. And would there have been, a volume of these plays later on in life where we revisit Rita and Sue later on in life and what they're doing. So, but I guess that's also the beauty of it, that you have to go away with that. And as an audience member, I love that you can take that away and have that imagination for yourself.
Yeah, there's a lot of gaps that you can fill in for yourself as an audience, and probably that you talked about in rehearsal as well.
Yeah,
I would imagine that if this play had been written by a man, it would have been judged very differently now and probably then. Do you think?
Oh, I've never thought of that.
In what way? What do you mean?
Well, because it's written by a woman, I think.
You mean the same material?
If it was the same
play,
if it was the same situation of the two young girls with the older man, do you think that would have been judged differently?
I don't really know how to answer that.
Yeah, I don't. I think it might have been perceived, how can you understand what it's like to be a 15-year-old girl, but then how did Andrew understand what it was like to be a 26-year-old man who's effectively grooming two young girls, which she did some way or another. She the way she writes him, James can back me up on this, is that you do kind of feel sorry for him in parts, because you realise he's a human being just going along with what he thinks is right at the time.
Yeah.
And she doesn't actually put any kind of judgment on him really in that play. Am I right?
Yeah, definitely. And something that we've kind of looked at a lot, and these guys really helped with during rehearsals, was the idea that he's having a rough time at home. He is out of work for the first time, and he's a man who's set up his own business and kind of gone out there and kind of grab life with both hands, and then it's all fallen to bits because of the state of the country. And like there's no doubt about it, he's depressed. And this is his escapism. And I think what Andrea's done is she kind of sees all of that and sees why she's ended up in this situation with him, and it's exciting for them, and they've all kind of gone along for this ride.
She's kind of seen the goodness in Bob.
I think it's an interesting point that if it had been written by an older man, then perhaps the excitement of this the youth might not have come through in the same way, I guess, and it maybe people wouldn't have been as forgiving.
That's probably, I would say, maybe they weren't begin.
She's written him as a person that she knows. Whereas if a guy had have written it, what perspective would that have been from?
And would he have been judging the character of Bob while writing it?
Judging the characters of these girls, because I think these girls do get misconceived as being provocative young ladies.
Promiscuous is what somebody said, asked me in an interview. Or they're quite promiscuous. I gave him a piece of my mind.
I get shagged in a car.
Obviously, but it's...
But
they're a product of their world, they're a product of their society. If I was 15 and a 27-year-old man approached me, I would say, jog on. It's not the same for these girls because of the world that they live in and the parents and the society that they grow up in is not the same.
I'm just thinking some people have judged recently Dennis Potter for some of his works, his TV works that often involve a young pretty woman taking her clothes off as being somebody who's done it as older male wishful thinking. And if this play had been written by Dennis Potter, then maybe it would have been judged in the same way.
Probably,
And how would he have portrayed those two characters as well? Because like what Taj was saying, like in terms of the two of them, what I think is fantastic the way that these two play it is that you can see so clearly the difference between Rita and Sue, and like the nerves that Taj brings to it, and the forwardness that Sue has, the way that Jem plays it, like you can really pick apart the both of them, and you know what Taj will be able to say, but why Rita kind of just gets not
swept
forced,
up
but
away
swept
in
up.
it. You know, it's all happening so quickly, and actually I found that in a rehearsal process, it was happening so quickly, and I couldn't catch up as an actress of what my thought process was as this young 15-year-old girl going through this kind of circumstance. But that is how quick it happens. I mean, she's written it so it happens within the first scene, but I guess if it was a male perspective, probably would have seen it all from Bob's point of view.
But Rita's more of a mysterious character in a way, though, isn't she? Because we do see your character's mum and dad. We see your family life as well. We see Michelle, the wife. But we hear about your parents, but we don't actually see them. And we find out there's been a lot of liaisons that we don't see as well. So you have this journey that we don't see all the background to it. We've got a lot to fill in ourselves. That's a lot to fill in as an actress as well, I would imagine.
It gave me a lot of artistic freedom actually to create this world that I kind of wanted to bring to Rita, but obviously within the confines of the text, because she does say there's so many brothers, there's so many sisters, I do have a mum, I say I haven't got a dad, and that was quite liberating for me to fill in those gaps. But I mean, and then try and bring some of that kind of depth on stage, but this play is so quick and so fast, and we've been told relentlessly to think on the line. And that's what I love about you, just doing every night it is just in the moment and playing it for what it is.
And I think on top of that, I think that like it's quite exciting for the audience to be able to fill those gaps to some extent, because the play is it's a presentation of scenes, and the bits in between, it kind of is up to the audience to use their imagination, because it is just totally separate. Like it's jumps in time, and it kind of goes, this happened, whatever you want in between, really. But I think that's what keeps it alive. And
watching it as an audience, when each scene starts, you've got a little moment of catching up, thinking, well, where are we now? How long since the last scene? You've got to sort of get yourself. You've got those mental processes of going in and right, now we are. So now you can.
Well, we had to draw a really big timeline, didn't we? We had to sit down and fill in the gaps of. Well, did we meet Rita and Sue go to school together? Okay, if they went to school, where would that have been in the vicinity of the area?
How far away do they live from each other?
How far do they live away from Bob? How long have they been babysitting from him for? So we actually had to fill those in as well. But I also think if you come from a similar background to these characters, because it's not so prescriptive down to a T, especially with Rita, you can then kind of familiarise those characters to your own life and kind of relate to it in your own way that you want to.
Yeah.
That makes any sense of what I've just said. Because I feel like that's what I had to do with Rita, because she was a world away from me, but also quite similar. I think I was more similar to Sue. Yeah. But then I got to bring my own kind of experiences to her and what she meant for me. Mm-hmm.
So this is, I read in the programme, this is your professional stage debut.
That's right, yeah.
It's a bit of a baptism of fire. You fairly explicit sex scene on stage right at the beginning.
Chuck me in a deep end.
So how was that, rehearsing those scenes? Because it's bound to be embarrassing at first, launching straight into that.
Do you know what, actually, before we started rehearsals, I was like, oh God, just going to have to, you know...
Yeah.
But actually, I didn't find it that awkward, to be honest. I thought it was all right.
Yeah.
I thought it was fine, and James was brilliant with us both, and he wasn't, you know, arrogant or horrible. Or yeah, he was just really good with it. So
thanks, mate.
When we were actually rehearsing it, it wasn't as awkward. I was really cringing about it beforehand. It wasn't as awkward as I thought. It was, and after the first couple of times, it were all right. It was just like, oh.
It was sort of eased in gently as well.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a terrible turn of phrase. That's a terrible turn of phrase. But we sort of started off by just running this, like, rehearsing it without any stuff. And then Kate kind of said one day, she was like, if we're going to do this play, we have to do it properly.
Yeah.
And after we'd watched The Arbour, you know, the film The Arbour.
Yeah.
Because of the content of the film and the life story of Andrea and her kids and what she saw on the film, Kate was like, we just got to show it for what it is.
Yeah.
Which I think is great.
It's all the better
it's
for
a
it,
lot
isn't it?
better than it being an abstract thing of us facing him or whatever.
Yeah.
Those scenes are never, you know, sexy to rehearse anyway.
No.
It is so technical.
Yeah.
It's like a dance, isn't it?
It's like a dance, and it's like, right, that line's going to come on that exact hand movement there, and because it's so fiddly and so many bits to kind of get in, that was the hardest bit that I think we kind of found, because we had the lines down, but when we came to doing it, there was so much stuff, as you've seen in the play, going on and getting it right, and sight lines.
You just got to know, like, when to take your trousers off, what bit Bob's going to be in front of you so you can take your knickers off, and when he's going to hand you your knickers back, and, you know, stuff like
Doesn't
that.
sound very sexy at all.
Oh.
It's not. No, really, it's not.
It's really not.
And from the audience point of view, all we see is James's bare bottom going up and down.
Thanks,
I think
James.
it's a treat for a lot of ladies.
There was some screechy laughs on the front row, I think. I
was I've heard them on Wednesday night, they were howling, weren't they?
Oh.
Actually, that's what the Bolton audience, it's just been unbelievable. I don't think we were expecting the comedy to kind of come through, because we've been focused quite hard on the grooming aspect.
The dark side.
And the dark sort of themes of the play throughout the rehearsal process. And that was what was really important to us. But at the end of the day, it's three people having sex in the car in that first scene, and it's funny. And it's written, it's hilarious, you know, and all the stuff between Bob and Rita.
It's hilarious. I still laugh. Sometimes I catch myself laughing for real. And I love feeding back off the audiences. I mean, we've all said the Bolton
because that opening part. You're just
sat there.
Well, but that's the funny part, really. Watching your reaction to just sat there waiting
for it to end. But Andrea had written it takes exactly a minute, and it's for a reason, because so you can feel all those uncomfortable
changes.
Yeah,
for real. You know, it's funny at first, and oh, this is a bit weird, and actually no, I don't like this, and oh, when's it gonna end? And
then Rita kind of going, I'm going to have to do that in a minute.
I'm going to... Yeah, exactly. And now it's going to be me.
And now it's my turn.
You're pushing that discomfort in the audience.
I think so, because we discussed that Rita that's probably her losing her virginity then as well. And, you know, it's all the cover-up afterwards when Bob leaves, the friendly chat between Rita and Sue, and the uncomfortableness of us living it together. We're kind of checking in with each other without actually saying, are you okay?
Yeah.
We kind of... In our own 15-year-old way, we try and make sure each other is okay.
We'd rehearsed it to a room of silence. And even in the technical rehearsals, it was silent. And then when we opened on Wednesday, it was like, what the hell's going on? Everyone was like, like
through all your timing out.
Through everything, I know. We didn't even know what to do because they were whooping.
We couldn't even get our lines out. That's how loud it was. It was give us a great
start, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a good confidence boost, and now it's great because we've got such a variety of audiences where people are kind of silent, but you can hear a pin drop because you can feel how uncomfortable they are about, actually, is this okay to watch, you know, when we're doing with two 15-year-old girls. And I love that.
I mean, it's unusual because there are certain reactions you can sense laughter.
Yeah.
But feeling an audience squirm, that must be just as satisfying, but more unusual, I suppose.
Usually can feel quite uncomfortable when you've had a lot of audiences that are laughing relentlessly and you can start to get a bit panicky or they're not enjoying it. But actually, for what this play is, you kind of want that, really.
That change.
You need that. You need that change because then you know it's hitting home.
Because initially we didn't expect so much laughter.
No.
But it's cracking that we've got it.
But it's brilliant that we've got it. And now we're used to it. So then when we get an audience that is a little bit quieter, you're like, oh. But it's just what they interpret it as, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
So you've been working with Max Stafford-Clarke, one of the greatest living directors, particularly of newer work or 20th century work.
Absolutely.
Who worked with the playwright originally.
Yeah.
So what's that been like for you? I know he's co-directing in this case, but what's it been like working with Max?
It's been amazing.
It's been great, yeah.
He's obviously got a lot of memories of Andrea, and us never having got to meet her. Unfortunately, it's great to listen to the stories that he's got about her and the time that she came down to London initially to go to the Royal Court, and she came down with a sister, I think, and all they wanted to do was go to Madame Tussauds. Because they probably never left that estate or left Bradford before.
Yeah.
And it's lovely actually because he's very protective of her, isn't he?
He's very protective of her work.
Yeah.
And one thing he was sort of adamant about was that it wasn't going to be carry on up the council estate. And it was like, and it's nice to see. But I mean, in terms of him as like a practitioner, like we did actioning with him and that kind of thing, and it's good. He's a hell of a man. I mean, he's not been very well for many years now, and he's still
sharp as a button. He's still sharp as a button. Yeah, really
is.
When he says, "No, that is not right," how you're playing that. You wholeheartedly believe him and you do not question him otherwise, but he is still open for kind of, discussion on certain bits. But when he's adamant that line is not, the subtext of that line is not coming through, you're not playing it right, you trust him with everything.
Yeah, he's amazing, really.
He uses playing cards for things like, what do you think your power is in this scene?
Right,
and it'll be like out of 10.
Yeah.
Or
I've done
that. So you'd pick a card and then you'd play it how you've picked. So say I picked 8, and then read the scene as 8 power. Yeah. Then he would guess what and he always used to guess it right as well, which is really bizarre.
He just
means you're getting it right.
You're 3. Do you know what I mean? Like,
that's because you're acting, Gem.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that. Like for everyone, he'd be like, "Oh, so you're 3, you're an 8 in this scene, the bang right." So and we did improvisation as well, of things that you don't see in the play.
Oh, we just chuck it in. You'd be doing your action in, and 1 minute you'd be like, right, James Taj, outside the door, and you're going to run in doing that scene. Within about 2 seconds, you've got to run out and do it. Doing that scene.
Yeah. You mentioned action in. I think what you're referring to as action. I think he's been doing it since it was called actioning. He wrote about it in Letters for George.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Is that still the same sort of thing where you find in transitive verbs?
Yeah.
So it kind of exactly.
Thought, and like a unit, like what this section of the scene's about, and
it's kind of an adaptation of a Stanislavski method, and but it's something that Max has kind of redeveloped himself. So you put to every line you have a verb, and it just makes it very specific. So even if you're not quite sure what you're maybe playing in terms of units and objectives, as long as you kind of play that action on that line, you know that you're not going to get lost in terms of the whole.
It's basically what you're trying to do to the other person, which is obvious in some scenes, but more subtle in others.
Yeah, like scene 3, for instance, I think it was really useful in scene 3 where there's so much text going on between Rita and Bob when they're kind of alone for the first time. It's all what isn't said.
Yes.
That as long as you're just playing to each other, what you're trying to...
Actually, our co-director gave us time to do this exercise where we said everything but what the line was. So we said everything of what we're trying to say, the subtext of that line, and that really helped us.
Yeah, that was with Kate, wasn't it? Yeah.
That was with Kate, and we got to do that for ages. And now, as we built up and we're thinking on the line now,
we've actually just had to get rid of all the subtext.
Or get rid of all the subtext. Then all we were doing was just play the subtext and not the line. But now it's just all there, and you can just have it to trust.
It's like learning to drive, isn't it? Where it seems to be doing a lot of things at once, and then you've got to lose it and just do it, haven't you?
Yeah.
But you mentioned Kate, the co-director, who's going to be taking over Out of Joint from fairly soon after you finish this, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So was there the different working methods between the two? Are they both similar?
Yeah, definitely. Max sort of took us through the table work, really, and then Kate kind of got it on its feet.
Yeah.
Kate's a big fan of getting it up there and making you not nervous to play. I think we did a run within the first week of her kind of taking the reins.
Yeah.
So
she was like saying, doesn't matter if it's wrong, at least we've got a shape.
Yeah.
I was quite nervous about that, but actually, once you'd actually gone through it on your feet, it actually really helped.
Yeah.
She's great.
It's a visceral medium, and it's not really... Getting it in your body is the best thing sometimes, to just get it up there, get it in your body. And some people learn that way. That's how they learn it. I learn my text that way.
Yeah.
It's getting it up on its feet.
You associate lines with moves.
With movement, yeah.
And it was kind of Kate's idea to come to bring in all the scene change stuff, which I think... Actually, certainly for Bob and Michelle's journey, I think it actually really helps some of those scene change journeys, because it does fill in the gaps for the audience, and we had a great movement director that came in to help us with that, called Dan as well.
And Catherine.
And Catherine, yeah. But yeah, it was Kate that kind of pushed those scene changes.
And we've had another guy called Titus helping us.
Yeah.
He's been directing some days, and he's just sort of peppered it with new layers, and you know, he's kind of added new things into the mix. So we've had the best of three worlds, really, with direction.
Totally different, all coming from totally different areas as well.
But complementing each other, just adding to it, and it's been a wonderful experience.
It's been really interesting, hasn't it?
Yeah.
How many weeks rehearsal did you have for it then?
5.
But then
4, and then we moved to Bolton to do the tech and the getting and stuff like that, which we kind of...
We did some really nice stuff there, because we sort of went to see the estate and all of that kind of stuff, so we went up to Bradford.
Yeah, so we had a day out to Bradford and went up to the Buttershaw estate.
Andrea's house, got to meet the locals.
Yeah, we met the people that are living in it now, didn't we?
Yeah. The friendliest, most welcoming community of people.
Yeah.
And we rocked up and we thought we saw a dead horse in the middle of the arbor. It was alive. Just a horse strapped to the middle of the arbor. And the pub, bless where Andrea passed away, the Beacon.
Which I think it's been done up, but...
It's being done up, yeah.
It's shut now. But I don't know what's happening with
the Beacon.
It's
in the process
of reopening.
Yeah.
But the last time Max toured with this play, it was in a double bill. I don't know if you know.
With Robin's play.
That's right, Robin Soames' State Affair.
Verbatim play.
Yeah. Where Robin had spoken to
the locals.
Probably the people you were speaking to, and produced this verbatim play. So it looks like Max has sort of tried to stay in touch with where this play was from and the people it's about.
I think that comes from his relationship with Andrea.
Yes.
I think, Max kind of mentored her, I think, because there's quite an interesting story, isn't there, behind her actually getting the arbour. Was it the arbour? First, yeah, because a school teacher sent
that when
it
she was 15.
to a competition.
Sent it to ITV, I think. ITV Studios in Leeds, I think, and they said it's not good enough for TV, or not good enough, but not mainstream enough for TV.
Yeah.
And then sent it to Max. Oh, sorry, no, she was at a women's refuge in Keighley.
Yeah.
And someone that she was there with had worked with Max before, or was in a theatre group or something, and she suggested that she send it to Max, I think. Maybe I've got that wrong.
I think it was her tutor. She studied English and she found it and he said, well, why don't you write a play? Because she was like, I can write things that people say, but I can't do this essay. And then he said, well, why don't you sit down and write a play? And she wrote a play, and at the time the Royal Court were doing a young writers programme.
Yeah.
When Max was artistic director.
When Max was artistic director there, and her teacher was obviously very proud of this work and sent it there, and then Max started up this connection with her, and she'd write bits of the play on pieces of A4 paper and send it in, and he'd really encourage her to finish the play. And then she'd be like, no, I can't, so-and-so's playing up with so-and-so, and I can't be bothered to do it this week, and I can't do it this week, and all this stuff. But he really encouraged her to carry on writing it.
Well, yeah, and she had kids as well.
Yes.
She had a child when she was writing Rita, Sue and Bob too. So, and like she said, like she's put in the play, when you've got a kid, it's not something you can put to one side and say, I'm going to a pub tonight. No. I've actually seen an old documentary of her, like an old ITV documentary, and that's what she says. She sat on train with Lorraine, and she says something like, you know, when you've got a kid, it's not something you can just put to one side and say, I'm off to the pub tonight. So she actually put that in Rita, Sue and Bob too. So you know that the words that are in the play are words that she's heard or words that she's said.
Yes.
And you can tell that's how it's written, because I'm from Yorkshire myself and from Leeds, which is right next to Bradford. And reading the play is so easy because it's written in my language. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
She's just written as she spoke.
Yeah. So I just think it's phenomenal that this young working class, almost underclass woman wrote these phenomenal plays, and here we are celebrating it today.
Yeah.
You know, 35 years later. Because I don't think that today, well, perhaps not. Perhaps she wouldn't have the same opportunities.
No, quite possibly, no.
Yeah.
And it's not overtly political, except that there's a bit of a discussion about Thatcher that you have in the car at one point when you're nodding off at the politics. But there is, it's sort of there in the background, the fact that you're not working and the general atmosphere in the estate. I mean, I was around in 1982, so I do remember the Thatcher years quite well. And there were estates like that, but there were estates like that all over the country where people just had no hope of finding work. They were doing qualifications and thinking, well, what's the point in finishing this? Because there's no work at the end of it. And YTS as well, like the two girls do.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I think it's, again, whether she meant to do it or not, you know, they're just there. They're just those themes. They're just, they don't need like hammered home because it just sits in them. Yeah. And
it runs through the whole play.
Yeah.
You know.
She doesn't need to labour over the points. You know, it's just, that's what's so great about her artistic flair.
Yeah. But what you were saying before about you were trying not to make it, there's this idea that it was particularly at the Royal Court at that time, it was in a still is in quite an exclusive area.
Yeah.
And they've often been criticised of sort of working class porn or some term like that.
I know what you mean.
You know, where rich people go and see what the poor live like, and then they can sort of, that's terrible, and go away and forget about it. But Max was in charge of that theatre, and he was also responsible for this play of Andrea's.
Yeah.
So that must have been quite difficult for him. So how is there any way you sort of explain how he was trying not to make this?
Well, I think he was just trying to broaden people's minds to what was going on, and he put on a lot of work like this. And I think what the Royal Court does today as well, it's kind of amazing, because I think it's one of the theatres in London where you can see usually pretty brilliant theatre, and you can get tickets for a tenner.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's accessible.
It's very accessible. Like, its location is sort of misguiding.
Yes.
because actually it really is a people's theatre, and the sort of work that it puts on is, I think, is testament to that still, and it's still kind of
I don't think there's room for improvement with that though, because it's accessible for people that live in London. I wouldn't pay £100 to go and see a play at the Royal Court, because I live in Leeds. Yeah. I would never pay £100 to get on a train and go see a play at the Royal Court unless it was something that I really was in love with. Yeah. I wouldn't, and I think that we need theatres, like obviously we've got the Octagon and theatres, but I think that we need more. I think the Royal Court is quite a revolutionary place, and I think that we need more places like that up north, because, and I don't want to be like, I've got a northern working class chip on my shoulder, because I haven't. I'm just saying, I don't think that you get the same experience up north as you do at the Royal Court. No. A lot of the time.
In terms of productions, because the Royal Court puts on some phenomenal, and I'm not saying theatres up north don't, because they do, but
it can take more risks.
I went to the Royal Court recently for the first time in my life to see Road, and and I absolutely love that play. It's one of my
another
favourite
80s
plays.
revival.
Another 80s revival. That weirdly crosses over with Rita, Sue and Bob too so much.
Yes, it does.
It's so bizarre. And just the feeling that I got when I walked in that auditorium was, wow, look at this. You know, the setting of it, the stage, the seats, everything. It really inspired me as an actress, being in that place. And for someone from Leeds, we don't really have anywhere like that. We've got like a local theatres, and I'm not downplaying what we have got in Leeds because we've got some fantastic places, but I've never got that feeling that I've got as I have at the Royal Court. That's what I'm saying.
I know what you mean. There's something about, like you said, they can take more risks. They're kind of known for that. They're known for new writing. Yeah. And it would be great. And I think the exchange does it to some extent, and I think Manchester's got home now, which is fantastic as well. Yeah. But I know what you mean, to have an outlet, because I'm from even further. I'm from the Lake District, and like we've got Theatr Royal Newcastle, and we've got Theatre by the Lake, and it's like
both great theatres,
both fantastic theatres, but they're kind of their choices don't necessarily challenge the audiences to the same extent. But the Octagon obviously is. I mean, I got a similar feeling. I came to see Our Country's Good Here because I had friends in when I was living in Manchester, so I came to see it then. That was my first experience of it, and I got a similar feeling here because I do think it is. It's a really special space. We were talking on the way in.
It's a phenomenal place. It's just, for me, the Royal Court has got some magic about it. Maybe it's just because I've never been, or because it's in such a beautiful area, or I don't know, the calibre of people that go in there. I don't know.
I'd have to ask Max.
There's just something magic about it and its history that really sort of inspired me, especially while we were rehearsing this, because I thought, well, that's going to be us in January. Do you know what I mean?
So just to finish, you're touring this till February.
Yeah.
What do you want audiences to take away from watching this play?
For me, the perfect reaction would be to come out having had a really fun, enjoyable night at the theatre, but to wake up the next day and to go and to kind of have the thought of, was that right? Yeah. I think is kind of what it's kind of what we, well, certainly I think it's what I want. But also I kind of want them to empathise with Bob a little bit.
Yeah, but hopefully change to be born out of it, you know, more support for younger girls. As we saw with 3 Girls, that really hard-hitting drama about the Rotherham scandal. You know, this is obviously fun to watch, but it does, just to make people question kind of what's going on in the world.
It's about awareness as well, isn't it? About that stuff, because it's happening so much. I mean, there was a load of footballers came out before Christmas as having been groomed, and I think that's the tip of the iceberg with that, and then 3 Girls that's been on telly. Just seems to be so much of it depressingly about at the moment, but the more awareness raised about it, the better.
And to celebrate Northern writers.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing I find really rare, is going to the theatre and seeing Northern actors. Northern writing set in a Yorkshire city or town, or, you know, did I just say Yorkshire city?
or Northern actors as well, because you often get a Northern piece of film, television or theatre played by a Southern actor, which I've got nothing against, but you get more of that than you do of vice versa. You get more of Southern actors playing Northern characters than you do of Northern actors playing Southern characters.
Okay.
Don't really know where I'm going with this. I'm just saying. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Rita, Sue and Bob 2 by Andrea Dunbar is produced by Out of Joint, Royal Court Theatre and Octagon Theatre Bolton. It has already been to the Octagon and to Harrogate Theatre, and is currently at Bristol Old Vic before moving on to Liverpool Playhouse, Warwick Arts Centre, Oxford Playhouse, Royal Theatre Northampton, Cast Doncaster, York Theatre Royal, Derby Theatre, Royal Court Theatre, Lawrence Batley Theatre in Huddersfield and Theatr Clwyd in Mould, where it will end its run. For more information, see www.outofjoint.co.uk. You've been listening to a podcast from British Theatre Guide. For more information, please visit britishtheatreguide.info.